Hi, it's Chris Moore with Senior Remodeling Experts. Welcome to Aging in Place is a Team Sport, a video series where we talk to different providers. We explore how families, professionals, and communities can come together to help older adults live safely, comfortably, and independently at home. I'm here to guide you, connect you with the right resources, and help make the rest of your life the best of your life. Welcome back to Aging in Place is a Team Sport. I am delighted to have with me today Brian Jacks, who is a dear friend and is the Associate State Director of AARP. He and I have had a number of conversations about aging and aging in place and how we might be of service to our older population in ways that makes their life fuller and more productive. So welcome, Brian, and tell us a little bit about your background and your point of view with how you serve the aging population in the state of Virginia.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for allowing me to be part and share a bit about what AARP Virginia, that's the state office that represents AARP here throughout the Commonwealth. I've been with AARP Virginia for almost a quarter of a century, coming up on 25 years of being with the association. And many of you may know that AARP is one of the largest nonprofits in the United States, dedicated to empowering Americans 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. So certainly that's what we're going to be talking about today. My background is in project management, and I have the delight to work with AARP volunteers as well as community organizations, area agencies on aging, and different groups to be both a wise friend and a fierce defender. That's one of our slogans or statements, that we're attempting to help individuals age with dignity. And to do that involves getting information out. Also, at times it involves service. And so AARP utilizes its membership in volunteer aspects to share on different topics, including aging in place.
Great. Well, thank you, Brian. One of the things that I've been giving a lot of thought to lately is how our perception of what aging means affects our ability to age well and to remain in good health and positive throughout our lifespan. What kinds of things is AARP doing or advocating for to improve the general impression of aging people in our society?
Yes. Well, AARP would agree with you on the point that you've made, that if individuals go into older age, the process of aging, without seeing it as a negative thing, but instead having the mentality of, hey, this is something that occurs naturally to all of us, that we should embrace the positive aspects of aging. I'm trying to think of one of the previous statements that was made, or a book actually that was written by our former CEO, that was in terms of disrupting aging, a sense of recognizing that there are many blessings that come along with aging. That's not always the case for everyone, and certainly taking care of one's health and being prepared for aging, prepared for different stages of life in advance. I'll say this, and that is that AARP has always been committed to helping people have key information that helps walk through the decisions of life. And when I think about caregiving, for instance, one of our primary tools, a workshop that we do, and a resource book that individuals can get free of charge, is entitled Prepare to Care. And it's focused on the idea of being a caregiver, recognizing the helps that are out there, also helping individuals devise a plan in advance of needing to step into that role. Again, a lot of people, as they get older, step into the role of caregivers, and recognition that we all need others to come around and assist us at times, especially if we're caring for older loved ones. Those plans could include calling in friends, family members, individuals from a congregation, perhaps, where the person receiving care used to attend, neighbors. AARP's magazine, which is one of the most widely circulated in the United States, is consistently walking through different issues of aging and helping people to manage the tasks and be prepared. And that is everything from how to save money to fun and exciting ways to recreate and be empowered as one gets older.
Excellent. One of the other things that I'm pondering on and studying on is how the benefits of different generations interacting and how it empowers both older people and younger people when they spend time together and learn from each other. And it used to be much more common that we lived in what I call the Walton's model, where there are multi-generations in the same household and children grew up knowing their grandparents and having the benefit of their wisdom and experience. And then the older people had the benefit of the young people's enthusiasm and energy. And I think that's a very important model that we have increasingly gotten away from. We see the seniors often living in age segregated communities and young families living over in this subdivision and older people living over here, and often young people grow up without a significant relationship with an older person. And so when they see negative stereotypes of old people in media, whether it be traditional or social media, there's nothing in their own life experience to combat that or to give them another alternative. And so I've been thinking in terms of what kinds of things can we do to foster more interaction between the generations. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that question. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, in part because of my personal experience growing up. And if you'll let me just go back in time a few decades, several decades actually, part of what brought me to my current role was the fact that I grew up at one point living on the family farm, my father's parents' farm, in a farmhouse with my siblings, my parents, their parents, being my grandparents, and my great-grandparents, who at the time were struggling with Alzheimer's. And my grandparents were the primary caregivers for grandma's mom and dad. So at that stage, I, as a youth, impressionable in about second, third grade time frame, had regular interaction growing up and living alongside my grandparents and great-grandparents. And those were very impactful moments in my early development and understanding of aging. Certainly, I saw my grandparents caring for the great-grandparents who had high needs in reference to activities of daily living. But one of the things that I had the responsibility for, often, most mornings, was to be the young person who fed my great-grandmother, Elba, oatmeal each morning for breakfast. All right? And so again, that sense of, hey, we each have a responsibility. We can each care for one another. We gain wisdom and insight from those who are older than us. I get the chance to work alongside my grandparents. Some of my most favorite memories were during that time frame, and then later on living at the farm over the summer times, working with my grandfather, learning how to drive tractors and move hay around and work with animals and gain life experiences, fixing things and working through problem solving with my grandfather. He and I together, hand in hand, making things happen and taking care of business on the farm. So you are right that the more that we can work intergenerationally and bring generations together, I do think has a high benefit. I'll mention that in my current role at AARP, one of the things that we have successfully undertaken involves pickleball. Now, pickleball is quite a bit different from farming, right? But what we've seen is that as older individuals, maybe former tennis players who don't quite want to burn it around the court as fast and as rugged as tennis, have taken up this new sport. It's lower impact, but still very thrilling and engaging, helping people stay healthy and active as they get older. And it can be done across the ages. It's not too difficult for a 9-year-old to learn how to play the sport. And at the same time, we have 79-year-olds that have come out to some of our pickleball events. We call them pickleball socials, not tournaments, but have highly engaging play, involve people at all of the different age spans playing together. And that's one way to make sure that younger people have the opportunity to engage and be active with people of all generations. That's quite a bit different from, youth soccer, which I also coach right now, where everybody's in a very distinct, couple of grades together, playing competitively against one another. But anytime that we can expand those boundaries, and as you said, get people engaged in life together, I do think is very, very helpful. I want to say one last thing, and that is that I believe that volunteer service is another way that we can bring together individuals, young and old. Oftentimes, the older folks might have a little bit more experience and skill in tackling some type of challenge, or when this could be whether we're talking about gardening or building a ramp onto someone's home or helping with a food pantry or food kitchen. But oftentimes, having some younger people there that what I say oftentimes, if I bring my kids to a food collection, my kids are going to be the ones that climb in the back of somebody's Suburban and are pushing out these heavy boxes of tomato soup cans, because I can tell you right now that my mom and other older individuals don't want to be the one climbing up into that contained space and pushing out big boxes. They appreciate when you have a halfway responsible 11-year-old that says, I'll jump in there and get the job done. So, we all, as you pointed out, bring something a little different to the table. We can all take the responsibility and the talents and the time that we have. Again, oftentimes, older individuals may have a little bit more freedom in time, especially if they're retired or not working. And so to team up in those kind of ways, I do think makes a big impact on everyone's quality of life, in a sense that, hey, as a society, we're in this together and we can work together for the benefit of all. That matures the younger people as they're growing up, and also brings a sense of energy and purpose to the older ones who are mentoring and guiding.
Right. Yeah, I love the volunteering angle. I've been on a number of projects with God's Pit Crew, and typically we have a very wide range of ages on those builds. And it's a great it's an environment. There's something about volunteering that just warms your soul in a way that so often we're caught up in the day to day of making a living, and how do we make ends meet, and how do we take care of our families, and then when we have the opportunity to help out somebody who may be in a situation where they're don't have the resources that we have, and it's very, very heartwarming and encouraging. So are there any initiatives? I guess the question, how do I phrase this? What is the balance between, because I know that you all advocate for legislative relief in certain areas, and sometimes the idea that we're waiting for the government to fix problems versus we're going to have a grassroots movement in our community to deal with things that we see locally that are problems. What is the philosophy of your organization with regards to that balance? And you personally, what is the primary approach you take when you look around in the community, in the state, and you see issues that need resolving or concerns that you might have in terms of what's the primary approach to problem solving?
So just to be very, very clear, I'm not the director of advocacy. My role is community outreach. So that would be to the second part of your question, which is how do we go about addressing a need when we see one in the community? You're mentioning, locally. And I will say that one of the most fun things that is coming up, well, let me start with what we've done. Just one thing that AARP Virginia has focused on earlier in the year. This was in April. We recognize that scams and fraud are something that are regularly attacking seniors in Virginia. All right. And I hate to even use the word seniors, because honestly, we're talking about people of all ages. But as AARP Virginia wants to target those over 50 to bring resources and help, we've teamed up with the Attorney General's Office, the Department of Justice, local area agencies on aging, to try to help individuals recognize some of the key threats. When it comes to getting your identity stolen or giving out information over the phone that you shouldn't be relaying. AARP Virginia has worked very hard to make sure that we have, first of all, trained speakers, volunteers who have walked through a process of being trained on current scams and frauds, thinking about the overall general tactics used against individuals 50 and over. And in April, one of the things that we did was hold a big scam jam, scam focused event. It was actually at a bowling alley in Roanoke, which again, part of our goal is to bring people out in a way that involves recreation, physical activity, a social connection. And then we had a free shred truck out in the parking lot to take care of shredding people's sensitive documents, recognizing that if you're just putting stuff in the trash that maybe are health records or tax statements or key information from the DMV, that is a risk, and that properly disposed of shredded documents reduces that risk in one way. We also talked about the grandparent scam, where individuals receive calls supposedly from a loved one, a grandchild, for instance, in trouble, requesting money and help without telling my parents. Don't tell my parents, Grandma. I'm calling. I need you to send me some Amazon gift cards or iTunes gift cards or wire me money or buy Bitcoin. And again, knowledge is power. So back to the original questions you posed, AARP believes that one of our main ways to help protect our members and really the public in general is through information. I want to make sure that anyone who's hearing this recognizes that if there is a community group, a neighborhood organization, or a club that you belong to, like Rotary or the Lions Club, that would like to have an AARP trained speaker come out and give a 30-minute workshop on how to prevent fraud and scams. That's something that AARP provides free of charge to local organizations to help protect and care for anyone that's a part of that. And hopefully the message spreads. I will say that AARP's Fraud Watch Network is an online resource that anyone can take a look at, can download information, can listen to podcasts, very different from this one, but a podcast that shares real life stories of individuals who have gone through scams and have come out on the other side, some with tragic results, others with justice being served, but walking through things such as, pet scams, romance scams, identity theft, the, you've missed jury duty scam that gets everybody really worked up, or hey, I guess I've missed paying some tolls. I'm going to be thrown in jail if I don't pay this now, and through all types of different unusual and weird payment methods, which is one of the red flags that you might be getting involved in a scam and need to stop everything and call the authorities right away. So I want to let you know that that's one of the things that we worked on and we continuously are working on throughout the year. I am letting you know this is kind of the first announcement for an event that we're holding in November. It's a Caregivers Retreat of sorts. We are looking forward to bringing individuals in the greater Roanoke area together. The event will be held on November 13th at the Roanoke South County Library, and it is focused on the power of purpose. We'll be showing a film entitled The Hidden Power of Purpose. We'll also be talking about technology aids, technology hacks, if you will, that caregivers can use to assist them in caregiving for loved ones. We'll be sharing and showcasing some of the resources that caregivers can utilize in the Roanoke area. I'll mention this too, and that is that AARP Virginia realizes we don't have all the resources, but we want to make sure that individuals understand how the local area agencies on aging make a difference in the communities. Chris, I know that you've worked with several of those organizations, but just to be clear with anyone that's listening in, AARP Virginia has worked hand in hand with the Central Virginia Alliance for Community Living, CVACL. That's out of Lynchburg and covers the surrounding counties. We work very closely with the local Office on Aging in Roanoke, which covers Craig County and Botetourt County and others in this area where you and I live. We also have worked very closely with the New River Valley AAA and are thankful for the work that's being done day in and day out. That includes transportation, housekeeping in some ways, needs assessments, assisting individuals who are attempting to remain in their communities, remain in their homes, to live with dignity. You mentioned self-determination earlier, a sense of making my own choices for myself, the best choices that I know will meet my needs as I get older. And I'll just want to point out one of those exciting initiatives that the New River Valley AAA has worked on called Aging in Community. There are a number of resources online, videos, a downloadable workbook that individuals can prepare for their own needs going forward. I'm thankful that AARP Virginia, our local chapter in the New River Valley, as well as Virginia Tech and other professionals in the realm of aging, have worked together with the New River Valley Area Agency on Aging to put together this resource. And at times, there are workshops that are held in the communities that help people walk through some of those key aspects. I've actually pulled up the website here. Individuals can take a look at NRV, that's for New River Valley, AOA.org, and look up Aging in Place, where this workshop is outlined, focusing on the topics of housing, health and wellness, transportation, personal finance, social connection, and growth. And I want to let you know that to properly receive care, to be a caregiving recipient, each and every one of those aspects needs to be addressed in some way to help individuals maintain function and connection and proper health. And so I'm letting you know that that's one of the things that AARP points to and assists with when those types of workshops are being held, whether that's in Floyd County or Craig County. There's one that's going to be coming up in Lynchburg, as a matter of fact, on November 18th. I believe that you've been a speaker at some of those Aging in Place workshops. I've had the opportunity to do the same. And I'm just, again, thankful for organizations like the Beard Center on Aging at the University of Lynchburg that come together to assist and help people as they consider getting older, preparing wisely in advance for those needs that will no doubt pop up. And it's better to plan ahead rather than wait until the moment of crisis.
Absolutely. And I actually have Ray Parks, who's the executive director of the New River Valley Agency on Aging, coming on this program this afternoon. Now, do you have a calendar on your website where people could go to see what some of these different events that you've been mentioning are and what's available in their communities?
Yes, we do. I would encourage people to take a look at the AARP Virginia website as a whole. There is a community calendar on that that lists the different activities that we're hosting, not only in person, but also online. So the website to take a look at is aarp.org/VA for Virginia. And you'll see there that there are just as many, possibly more, events that are now offered through webinar and online. We find that that's a helpful practice, especially for those who may not wish to drive any longer or have trouble with transportation. Again, I think that there is a real sense of togetherness and social engagement when coming out for activities, whether it's a senior expo taking place in Franklin County this month, whether it's a movies for grown-ups, which AARP offers free of charge at different months to get people to turn out, often held at the Grandin Theater downtown, whether it is a lifelong learning institute engagement. And I'll let you know that AARP Virginia is proud to be one of the founding organizations that helped kick that off at Virginia Tech more than a decade ago. I'm happy to hear that you're presenting one of the classes there, Chris, because I know that they have high turnouts and there's a real sense of togetherness in the general community that the Virginia Tech Lifelong Learning Institute has formed. I do want to put in a plug for AARP's local chapters. Many individuals who are AARP members say, okay, I know I'm a member. That's at the national level. I send my form in to DC address. But I'm happy to say that here in Virginia, we have volunteer service chapters that exist in the New River Valley, meeting at the Blacksburg Community Center. We have 2 chapters that are in the greater Roanoke area. And individuals can find out if there's a chapter located near them by looking at our chapter locator tool. And to do that, the best and easiest address to speak out loud is to go to aarp.org/volunteer. And if you search by chapter or chapter finder, you will be connected to a form that you can put in your zip code and find local chapters. Most of those chapters meet monthly. It's a gathering of AARP members coming together for education, service, and advocacy, kind of the 3 main pillars of what we're doing at AARP. And oftentimes, back to the volunteer piece, those are where you can learn of opportunities to serve, whether it's a food drive or a writing notes to individuals living in assisted living centers or nursing homes. Oftentimes projects are around veterans themed activities, helping to honor those who have served in the military. And one of the most recent ones that I heard of was a gardening volunteer project where chapter members went to the Roanoke Rescue Mission and helped beautify the entrance. So just want to let you know that if those who are listening say, hey, I didn't realize I've been a member, I've gotten a lot of discounts over the years, but didn't realize there are local service organizations, meetups, which AARP calls chapters, and that there are several of those in this area that individuals tuning in might want to take part in.
Awesome. Well, I was thinking when you were talking about scams that I think one of the things that makes people particularly vulnerable to scams is social isolation. If they, are not engaged with others, they live alone and they really don't have any family or friends to kind of talk to, kind of bounce ideas off, does this seem legitimate to you kind of thing. So I think that the more that people get out in community and get involved in some of these activities and educate themselves and have some contacts to have those conversations with, to just bounce that off of and say, does this sound right to you?
You're 100% right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we recognize, let me say that the AARP has what we term the 8 domains of livability. Now, as I mentioned this list, you're going to say, why is Brian bringing this up? But one of them is really key to what you've just said. When we think about livable communities, places where people can safely and in a healthy way age in place, we list outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, housing, social participation, respect and social inclusion, work and civic engagement, communication and information, and community and health services. I want to draw the attention to what you just said, and that's social participation. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're on a softball team playing every Thursday night. But social participation means that you're engaged with others, that there's a sense of, hey, we're working together. I'm sharing what's going on in my life with you, hearing from you what's going on in your life. We're teaming up and living life together. And we find that that is a super important piece to remaining active, healthy, to fighting off loneliness. It even is shown to make a difference in chronic disease rates in individuals and overall health. Recognizing that, yes, when somebody is lonely and isolated and they receive a phone call from somebody who sounds really helpful and friendly, it's a lot harder to just do the right thing, which is to end that conversation when, you maybe haven't talked to someone in a couple of days and this person seems to be asking questions and caring for one. 100%, we want to be doing our part in making sure that individuals are connected socially. I'll say this, you may not be aware that AARP hosts an annual community challenge grant process that nonprofits and communities, actual cities, communities can apply for, with the goal of helping raise these 8 domains of livability, and social participation being one of those. The AARP Community Challenge Grant Program receives a lot of applications for things like crosswalks, neighborhood parks, walking trails, and yes, back to pickleball courts, where people say, hey, we would like our community to have some features that bring individuals together, that increase social participation. Some of them deal with other aspects like making sure that, safety, transportation, even housing. Here in Roanoke, just a while back, the city was given a grant to help a kind of a pilot project or a design project, that's the way they termed it, dealing with accessible dwelling units. And so architects were able to submit drawings that they felt like would be both visually appealing and very livable. Home fit is what AARP calls that we're helping individuals have a home that's fit for them as they grow older. And AARP puts out that application for grant applications or nominations at the beginning of the year. The grants are selected and awarded in the mid-year and then are to be completed by the end of this year. Right now, for instance, Friends of Ferrum Park, a little bit south of here, is doing some trail improvements, improving the park with the idea of making it a safe and healthy place for, again, people of all ages to come together. And they're having a grand opening on Friday night.
Awesome. So it sounds like there's all kinds of opportunities for people to get involved in the community. What would you say the percentage of older people are that are aware that many of these things exist? And if that number is low, what can be done to increase awareness of access to some of these resources?
So, great question. I can't spout off a specific data point of how many people are aware of all the different aspects. I would guess that individuals who are watching the news, are engaged online, are, again, connected to faith communities and are part of different networks in person, whether that's a book club or they're, on the Friends of the Library board, or they are regularly engaging with their families. They probably have some knowledge of some aspects of these. But we can never know too much. We want to make sure that we're being consistent lifelong learners, as we've just mentioned a little bit, and point out some of the ways that individuals can grow in their understanding. I would really encourage folks to begin by reaching out to their local area agency on aging. And I feel that the percentage of individuals 50 and over who are aware of their local area agency on aging is probably quite low. Oftentimes, I think people reach out, find out about that when they're in the hospital, or, when someone's fallen down the stairs and they need help. And so I want to just right now kind of give a push or encouragement to folks to look up and see where is the local area agency on aging, which has been tasked with helping care for and resource and bring information to different districts of the state. So we mentioned a few of those: the New River Valley Area Agency on Aging, the Local Office on Aging, CVACL in Lynchburg, maybe the Southern Area Agency on Aging that reaches out from Martinsville, Danville area. So that's a starting point. A second thing, I certainly would encourage folks to go on to AARP's state website, which is aarp.org/VA, where you can find out about the activities that AARP is hosting and holding, both in person and virtually. We mentioned a few of the different topics that AARP cares about: caregiving, fraud. Certainly, we're working in the area of livability to help people get older. Also, again, some of the activities that we focus on in health and fitness. There's even some online yoga classes and ways to get moving in the comfort of your own house, but being led by instructors with some different types of fitness programs. This month, AARP is working hard to help end senior hunger as Hunger Action Month is underway. If you want to get involved in a food collection or in some way help individuals that are food insecure, we would welcome your joining forces with us. Volunteering, as I mentioned earlier, becoming a part of one of our local chapters where you can hear monthly, not just from AARP, but also outside presenters and speakers that are brought into these chapter meetings. There's the social participation of being engaged with others, but secondly, also receiving information directly from the presenters that turn out and share on these different topics and topics of interest to the community in which you live. So those are some of the aspects. Again, I can also mention that AARP's magazine has a lot of helpful insight on all these different types of issues. AARP members have access to that as well, or you can go to your local library and check it out.
Great. So you had mentioned early on that you have been involved with AARP for 25 years, and certainly the percentage of older people in our population has grown significantly during that time. Would you say that the way that we are caring for our older population and the resources that are available to them is keeping pace with the increased numbers of the older population?
Yeah, so let me hit a couple data points that I've pulled up from AARP's Livability webpage. Individuals can check that out at aarp.org/livable. Two of the big ones here. By 2030, 1 out of every 5 people in the U.S. will be age 65 or older. And then the second, by 2034, the number of adults older than 65 will be greater than the number of children under 18. So, to directly align with what you've just said, yes, the United States population is aging, certainly, rapidly. That's the case in the city of Roanoke, for instance. And we're seeing that communities that are willing to tackle that challenge and to embrace those opportunities oftentimes are looking to AARP's age-friendly network. Many may not be aware that AARP offers helps to communities and communities and counties and cities, towns that say, hey, we want to make sure that we are thinking proactively and making steps to ensure that our community can adequately meet the needs of people 50 and over, 65 and older, 85 and older, as that the highest level of age group is what's transforming and growing even more than, let me say this, I want to back up just a second and say that the oldest age group that we have now was not something that existed 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. We're extending the longevity of individuals. And so communities need to make sure that we are tailoring our services, meeting the needs of that highest age grouping. And I'll say that AARP, trying to assist communities, has created the age-friendly network that communities can apply to become a part of that, to receive some specialized tailored helps, while at the same time, much of the resources that AARP offers can be found online and communities can take a look at. As I'm on the website right now, again, I want to encourage individuals to take a look at aarp.org/livable and recognize that we have information and inspiration for local leaders, which outlines not just what, the community challenge grants, but also a livability index, different how-to guides and toolkits that local leaders can pull from, a livable newsletter that showcases best practices from other communities. I did briefly mention the housing design competition toolkit. There's one that we have here that helps communities do a walk audit, recognition of, hey, how easy is it to get around if I can no longer drive and I need to get to the supermarket, go to a place of worship, interact with my friends, perhaps make it down to the park. And those are different tools that AARP offers to help communities be prepared for those challenges that exist when an aging population exists. Do you feel like I've answered your question clearly, or do you feel like that I've skirted around the edges, Chris?
No, absolutely. And you've brought up a lot of resources and your website, and I'm assuming that most of this information can be found on your website for people that have an interest and want to learn more.
It can. And I just want to point out that when I've mentioned some of these aspects of cities, more of a tighter space, I think about sidewalks. Also, AARP is focusing on rural communities, attempting to come up with solutions around rural livability. I see here on the website that one of the toolkits under community solutions specifically points out how small towns and remote communities are working to become more livable for older adults and people of all ages. And I can't stress it enough how oftentimes when we make improvements for individuals who are of older ages, that also is a huge help for moms pushing strollers and for younger people and middle-aged individuals who would really appreciate having a handrail going up the stairs. And so, when we make improvements that are impactful for people of older ages, it oftentimes has a direct benefit for individuals of younger ages. And certainly as we began the program talking about how the more that we can connect the fullness of the generations, it impacts and benefits every member of every age. And I don't want to be known as the pickleball guy and just exclusively focus on that. But I just want to say that anything that we're doing to improve a park and to get people to turn out and come together, it is not only a health benefit, but as was mentioned when we talked about scams and fraud, it's a financial protection against predators. It's a sense of togetherness, and that sense of community spurs on other activities where they say, hey, we were able to play at the park together today. What if we were to read a book together and discuss it tomorrow? Or would you be interested in coming over for a backyard picnic? Because not everything needs to be a huge, big program. It's a sense of care, relationships, service to one another. And so I'm thankful that that's in your heart and your sense of values, and want to let you know that that's something that drives me every day as I lead volunteer teams in Danville and Blacksburg and Lynchburg and the greater Roanoke area. We have individuals that are coming together and saying, hey, I know that there are needs out there. I know that I have time and some talent. I'm willing to engage and give back, and recognizing again that hidden power of purpose, that when individuals are waking up in the morning with a sense of, hey, I'm needed. There's something I can do that makes a difference today. That the more that we can engage together, purposefully making a difference in our communities, that prolongs our life, gives us a sense of, hey, I'm not afraid to get older. These are opportunities and days that I can use. And I'm just thankful to have that opportunity. And I'm glad to be working alongside community organizations and individuals that, again, like you, Chris, like others that we've worked with on a week in, week out basis, whether we're at the Senior Fair or the Health Expo or we're at the Lifelong Learning Institute, there's a sense of making a difference day in and day out and incorporating others in that process. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity today to share a little bit about that and from my perspective.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad to have you, Brian. And I love that you're stressing that sense of purpose, because I feel like that's something that gets lost in retirement often. And I'm kind of pushing back a little bit against the whole idea of retirement. On a farm, when we retire a piece of equipment, it's because it's no longer useful. And I think that we need to reframe the whole idea of retirement as maybe shifting gears from one activity to another, from one purpose to a different, or a shift in purpose, rather than I'm retiring because I'm no longer useful, because the resources and the knowledge and the wisdom of our older generation is very useful and very needed in our society. Hopefully we can all work together and get that word out and make an impact and change the world around us. So thanks again for being here, Brian. Really, really excited about all the work that you're doing, and look forward to seeing you at the next senior event that we end up at together.
Thank you, Chris.
So thank you all for watching another Aging in Place as a Team Sport. And I hope you will subscribe to our channel and comment and like, and let me know if there are other guests that you'd like to see on this program, and I will do my best to get them on. So thanks again and have a great day.